self-esteem. Does that break the myth? Does that completely break the myth? And I'm not against mothers. I love my mother, and I love all mothers who are present. I think they're doing a phenomenal job. Yeah? But let's just simply accept one fact, which says both of them are equally capable of looking after their children. I'll give you a very simple study which was done in Israel. I was in Israel in the year of 2006. Yeah. So this was a small study which was done in Israel, right? So what they said was, there is this 3-month-old child, let's keep him here, right? We will blindfold the mother and we will blindfold the father. Yeah? We will blindfold both of them, right? And just by their ability to smell, can they find out what is the child going through? Is the child smiling? Is the child crying? Is the child feeling sad? Is the child happy? Is the child hungry? Is the child, so various such feelings which the child goes through, right? So the answer came, between mother and father, there were absolutely no biological differences. They were equally able to guess the emotion of the child based on just their olfactory, that is their smell sense. So therefore, biologically, absolutely no difference between mothers and fathers. Let's be clear about it. Now let's come to, are they willing? You know, most judges would absolutely tell you, "Arey, बच्चे के लिए तो इसीलिए क्योंकि वो so that he can negotiate the maintenance, ना?" Is that something that we hear? कि बच्चा is only so that you can actually negotiate and bring down the maintenance of the cases. Yeah? Well, the answer is, most of us, I don't know, there are maybe societal differences. You know, I do agree that India has a certain culture where women or mother have been forced to look after the children and men have been forced to just go and earn money, and they've been trying to keep together, keep different apart. There are certain instances that I know of such. However, if you go sit down and ask a father, and I know a lot of us fathers living here, sitting here, we love our children equally. We want to be part of their life. We want to take care of them. But what is the first thing you hear about when you walk into a lawyer's office? The first thing that you hear is, "अरे बच्चे को तो भूल जाओ यार, कुछ नहीं मिलने वाला, अगर महीने में 2-3 घंटे बैठने को मिल गया, खुश रहो." Is that right? Isn't that what we hear from every lawyer, every judge? Yeah. Now tell me something, if that is the first thing that you hear when you walk into supposedly a lawyer's office who's supposedly your lawyer, how much will you be willing to go ahead and fight for the rest of your life? Because rest of your life is literal. I mean that literally, because how long does a normal court case for child custody last? Let me give you the answer. It lasts till the child turns 18. So if you start your fight when the child is 2, it will last for 16 years. If you start the fight when you're 10, it will last for 8 years. Yeah? That's how long the case lasts. So how many parents would be willing to do that? I won't talk about bargaining in the shadow of law, which I think Rohit and Jyoti will probably touch upon in a greater sense of how that actually happens. Yeah. But let me again try and educate a lot of fathers who out here feel that, you know, fathers, ठीक है, mom is more important. Let's take care of mom. So I won't really go into too much detail. What I would request each one of you is, there's a beautiful documentary called, it's made by BBC, and it's a very scientific documentary called The Biology of Dads. It's available on YouTube. Please go and watch it. It's an extremely well made, it's a 1-hour long documentary, extremely well made, of how important, even when you feel, "Arey main to kuch nahi kar raha hu bacche ke saath, theek hai na?" You will go and see how far and how important even things that you do subconsciously or unconsciously are important for your children. Let's be very clear. The way a father plays, a typical father would throw up the child in the air, would sit back and fight with the child, right? would actually speak in language which is not baby language. He'll use complicated terms. Those things, what they do is, those are the things which foster a lot of risk-taking abilities, independence in the child, ability to take control of their own lives, ability to see where power comes from and where power goes. Right? His language development, all children. So again, I'll come back to single father households. Their children, when they went to school, were found to be far more mature, far more interested in the work that they do, which led to better academic achievements. Right? So let's stop underestimating the power of dads. Let's stop underestimating how important they are in children's upbringing. So finally, after these 14,000 children were followed, so what somebody who's actually mentored me, a gentleman called Dr. Richard Washak, what he did was he brought in 110 experts from across the world, including one person from India also was there. And they locked themselves up for a period of 3 days inside the room and went through every research that had been done. And all those 110, these were psychiatrists, psychologists, legal professionals, sociologists. These were people who were dealing with children and their studies on a day-in, day-out basis. What did they find? They all agreed that shared parenting is the best. But the discussion is no longer now on shared parenting. The shared parenting discussion is long over. It's long over approximately some years back. Now they're only discussing one thing. Should we start shared parenting at 2 years or 3 years of the child? And here we are in this country where a child even at 18 we can't even agree on shared parenting. So can you imagine how bad, how antedated, how antique our laws are? The Guardians and Wards Act was made in 1890, 130 years back. So that's what I need to say. So then what we did was that this is what the world says all over. Where is the problem that we actually face in Indian courts? Yeah. So the Indian courts, I think, I'm kind of running short of time, so I'm going to do a lot of skipping. So we looked at almost 340 litigants, 35 lawyers, 9 judges, and we said, what's really the problem with Indian courts? Where are we really going wrong? And the answers came. One is, of course, what Justice Dhingra talked about, an adversarial system. Let's look at it this way. A delay of a criminal or a civil court is something that's terrible, but we can understand. For a child, 6 months of delay also, and 6 months is like a peanuts delay in the Indian court system. I mean, it's not even considered a delay. For a 5-6-year-old child, is 10% of his life. So he's lost 10% of his life in courts, just delay. Right? So when we're talking about us being, let's say, 30, 40 years old, 6 months, it's about 1% of our life. For a child, it's 10% of his life. So where should our focus be? Where should special courts and fast-track courts be made? Should it be made to take care of certain victims who had problems on the road? Or should it be made to take care of our children first? Where is the first need for fast-track courts? Let's answer that for ourselves. It's in our conscience. I've already spoken about antiquated laws. Because let's look at it again. One judge passes one judgment. I've seen the same judge in exactly the same case pass 2 diametrically opposite judgments. And this is a Bombay High Court judge. Diametrically, same case, same everything. Because there are lack of guidelines. We created these child access and custody guidelines. This was done by a wonderful organization called Child Rights Foundation from Bombay. Wonderful guidelines, approved by 5 courts. Again, as Justice Dhingra said, all those 5 courts were like excited. It's on the website of 3 of those high courts of India. It's been uploaded and it's wonderful. How many judges follow it? 0. I've followed every family court judge across the India, and I can promise and tell you that there are 2 judges in this entire country who get it. I don't even want to name them because that's not the point. There are 2 judges, the rest of them don't even get it. Forget about following it. They've probably not even read it. And these are things which have been approved and uploaded on the websites. And these are the judges who conduct child interviews for them. That is something that I feel is something that absolutely just completely kills. I'll misquote, and I'm using the word misquote. Justice Arijit Pasayat actually said something about family laws in this thing. And I'm going to just misquote from him and say, the family courts have done more to break